Okay, so let's get started. We're going to be taking a look at working with staged fuel injection programming found in our Link G5 and G4X systems. Staged fuel injection allows us to control another set of fuel injectors in a very specific manner. So we're going to bring in our additional fuel flow, typically as we get up into higher load situations. We might find ourselves in a situation where we're running ethanol or methanol fuel, and a single set of fuel injectors can't provide enough fuel flow into the engine to support the horsepower that our engine is making. This is really common. Turbocharged 4 and 6 cylinder engines, we making a lot of horsepower, a lot of boost. We have to run staged injection. Now, it does require a second set of injectors, an additional fuel rail fitted to the intake manifold to make all of this work, but it's pretty simple to control. We may also find ourselves in a situation where you want to improve drivability. So if you have a really big set of injectors, let's say your primary set of injectors, it's 2000 cc injectors or larger, they're not going to run very smooth and very linear at idle and part throttle cruise. They're going to be more difficult to tune, and ultimately, you're not going to have as smooth of a running engine. That's a trade-off for making a lot of horsepower. You need to have additional fuel flow, but controlling the injectors at low pulse widths, idle and part throttle, is very challenging. We can actually get around this, kind of have the best of both worlds, where we can run a set of 1000 cc for a primary injector and a 2 or 3000 cc for our secondary injector, and control the primaries to run at idle and part throttle cruise, and bring in the secondary set of injectors as we get into boost. That gives us the best of both worlds. So we have good drivability, good idle quality, ease for cranking and starting, dialing all that in, and then we have the fuel there as we get into boost. This is how I've set up a lot of turbo 4-cylinder engines over the years to have a much better drivability experience compared to just a single set large primary injectors. So we're going to talk about how to set this up here. There's actually two different methods. There's actually technically three different methods for working in staged injection. We're only going to be taking a look at two of them. One of the methods is supposed to be phased out by Link, so it may not even appear in the software as you go through in future software versions, so I'm not even going to cover it. Let's move here from our fuel area, and we're going to jump over to our area that's labeled staged. So let's go over here, and if we skim across here, we should find it in our staged injection window. And we're going to find ourselves in the programming window for stage injection. Now, the first thing I'm going to do here is just go over some of the basics for stage injection. Now, if we take a look here under fuel main, injection mode, we have to choose what mode we're working with here. So if we're working in a staged injection option, technically the best option is sequential stage. This means that you have on a 4-cylinder engine, 4 injector outputs are tied for the primary control of the injectors. 4 additional 4 injector outputs are used for the secondary injector control. 6-cylinder engine, 6 outputs would be used for control for the primaries, and another 6 outputs would be used for control for the secondaries. An 8-cylinder, you'd have to have enough injector outputs. Currently on a G5, the full sequential stage I don't believe is possible. I'd have to double check the pinout, but I believe that's going to be where it falls short. So we can support 4 6-cylinder engines with the G5 Voodoo Pro. We might be able to do 8 cylinders, but beyond that, we definitely can't. If you don't have enough injector outputs, but you still want to run stage injection, you can work with some of their options here. Sequential multiport. Sequential multiport allows you to control the secondary set of injectors in a multiport type of functionality. So essentially, you're firing maybe 2 injectors at once. So if you have an 8-cylinder engine, obviously you'd have 8 injectors. That'd be sequential control, so that's where we're controlling our normal idle part throttle driving with our primary injectors. Then we'll bring in 8 more injectors, but we'll use 4 injector outputs to do so. That would be the option here for the multiport group. So you have to go in and select the option that's relevant for what you're tuning and how you have enough injector outputs and the engine you're working with here. I'm going to assume that we're doing sequential stage and you're doing a 4 or 6-cylinder engine here. I'm going to go ahead and select that. Let's click OK. And we're going to go ahead and just say yes here, put some default values in some of our injector data table. Now, if we go up here to the top under staging mode, we can go here and select 3 different options for working in staged injection timing and programming. So we have our secondary flow ratio, secondary extra, and specified flow rate. The secondary primary flow ratio, this is used typically with traditional fuel equation mode. It can be used with model mode, but the better option for model will be our specified flow rate. So we're going to go over secondary primary flow ratio here real quickly so we can see how this works and setting up some of our details here. Secondary extra we're not going to cover. As far as I know, Link is dropping support on this option, so I'm not even going to go over it in the tutorial because, again, it may not even be in the software in the future, and personally, I'm using one or the other. So if I'm tuning in model volumetric efficiency style tuning, I'm using specified flow rate. If I'm tuning in traditional, I'm using the secondary primary flow ratio. Let's go over the secondary primary flow ratio real quick. I'll click OK. Now, what we're going to find here is that the secondary primary ratio is going to be something we have to define. So the Link is going to understand the size difference between the primary and the secondary set of injectors. So that's pretty easy to work out. Mathematically, I have an Excel spreadsheet. It's going to do that math for us. Let's take a look at that real quick. So if we jump in here to our Excel spreadsheet, we have a particular page called injector staging, and we have our calculator right here. That's going to give us our secondary primary ratio, this value. It's also going to calculate our secondary stage table value for the same pulse width. We'll describe what this means here in just a little bit. This is essentially going to allow both set of injectors, depending on what they flow, to end up with the same injector pulse width and to end up with the same duty cycle as we're commanding the second set of injectors on. This is important because as we get into high load and both set of injectors are running, we want them both to max out at 100% duty cycle at approximately the same time. We don't want to go in and max out, let's say, the primary injector and the secondary injector still giving additional fuel flow. We want to max them out at the same time. So this portion here is going to be important to understand.
Thanks for checking out our teaser clip. If you want to see the rest of this video and more than 500 hours of current EFI training we have to offer, make sure you click right here. If you want to go and check out more teaser clips from this training course, click here, and you don't want to miss any of the videos we're going to be releasing on this channel, so make sure you subscribe and click here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.